Yeah, let's get back to today's jobs report, which I liked, of course. Joining us now with the first reaction from the White House. It's National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow. First, Larry, before we talk the number, how you been? What's going on?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thank you very much. My brand new titanium hip replacement, which is 3 months old, has kicked in beautifully. I'm walking, I'm pirouetting, and I'm playing tennis again. And life is grand. Thank you.
Oh, I am so glad. That's Allegheny Technologies, if you want to play that, Dave. we got a stock play on Kudlow's head. There it is. Do that with Larry. Even mentioned something. Okay, let's get some Allegheny. They got a hammer lock on it. Okay, Larry, a number to me that says things are good, but that if rates were lower, things amazingly, considering the fight we're having with the Chinese, the good fight, could be even better. What do you think?
Well, I reckon that's correct. Money markets and bond markets are expecting monetary policy to lower the target rate, certainly in September, probably October too. But, Jimmy, I want to go back to these numbers because I watched the coverage this morning among my dear friends and former colleagues. Look, 130,000 is a very solid number. But August is always a quirky month. Usually the print comes in too low for seasonal reasons, and then it's revised up. But here's a story. I want to break this with you and David. Here's a story. The household survey, from which unemployment is derived and tends to be dominated by small businesses. The household survey was up by 590,000, okay? 590,000. This is the third straight blowout month. The average is 373,000 for those 2 months. And one more, please. The civilian labor force increased by 571,000. This is also the third straight month. The average is 425,000. These are people, Jimmy, that last number, civilian labor force, they're coming out of the woodwork and they're coming back to work. So household survey up 590,000. It's an unbelievable blowout number. Civilian labor force picks up by 571,000. All I want to say is America is working. America is working. And final point here at the intro, American workers are getting paid. Now, average hourly earnings, 12-month change is 3.2%. But in the last 3 months, average hourly earnings have picked up to 4%, 4.2% at an annual rate. And by the way, that's what the productivity numbers are showing. So look, this actually was a blowout number, and I want people to appreciate the magnitudes here because you and I have been doing this a long time. I have seldom seen these kinds of numbers. Almost 600,000 people in the household survey and new entrants into the labor force. It's really quite remarkable.
All right, well, let's go over, Larry, because, you know, I know companies, there's no one who knows top-down better than you. I look at the companies I follow, and they're not really hiring. I'm wondering if there isn't a new economy, and I hope Fed Chair Jay Powell's listening, a new economy being created by the Internet of people who are creating their own jobs, creating their own business, letting their dreams come true. I'm sorry to be so, I don't mean to be ethereal or dramatic, but Larry, you know that it's the real small business that creates these jobs, and the small businesses have never been easier to create with the Internet. How come no one's focused on technology as a job creator?
Oh, well, they should, because you're absolutely right. Your analysis is absolutely right. And Jimmy, that's why, look, this non-farm payroll survey, the so-called establishment survey, will not pick that up. And that's why here this morning I want to emphasize the household survey, which picks up the smaller and brand new businesses at a much greater degree than the so-called, non-farm payrolls. I think you're spot on. And by the way, speaking of technology, what we're seeing now is a pickup in productivity. the last 2 years, 8 quarters of productivity gains, okay, 1.8%. That is a huge increase because if you went back into the earlier parts of this cycle, it was zero. Productivity was zero. So 1.8. The growth of employment is about 1.3%. So the economy's potential is now moving above 3% for the first time in probably 20 years plus. And at the heart of that is the technology story. Look, it's also the services story. You had a blowout ISM services number. And I want to add to this, too. You know, President Trump is working hard to defend the American economy and to defend American workers. The race to technology advance, where the United States has a very big lead, is part and parcel of our discussions with China. We must not let the Chinese steal our technology. Unfortunately, there's some evidence down through the years that they don't value IP and they have forced technology transfers. So this is all of the piece. Now, I hope we talk about the negotiations coming up because I think that's very important and very positive. But I'm just saying, what does America do best? What does America do best? We create, we invent, we innovate, and we produce. The heart of this is technological advance in every nook and cranny of the economy, whether it's autos, farming, manufacturing, internet, 5G. We do this better than any other country. We have to maintain that lead, and we have to make sure everybody plays fair in the world trading system. And if they don't play fair, we have to take actions to defend it. So you see what I'm saying?
Understood, Larry.
One leads to the other, to the other.
And I would add, you know, as you know, I like to report. I mean, the Chinese are moving very quickly when it comes to 5G. I'm sure you know that. I'm sure you get reports on it. They're being very aggressive. Let's talk a bit about your expectations for the negotiations.
David, one parenthetical here. I got to tell you. I mean, I have met, and we've had very important Oval Office meetings with the big telcos, with all of the chip makers, the Ciscos, the Qualcomms, you name it.
I know.
We have right now in the United States a terrific lead in 5G. We are deploying in 100 cities. There's a narrative out there that we're losing to China. It is simply not true. I want to emphasize
I know we are
that.
deploying aggressively,
Simply
but
true.
they have the ability through their sort of command economy to just go right at it, and I think they're being very aggressive too. Larry, let me get to your.
We'll see about how command economies work versus how free economies work. We'll see about that.
You and I are on the same page on that one.
Right.
Where are you in terms of your expectations for the upcoming negotiations? Do you have a timeline? Are they going to be in October? Are the two sides getting their agendas together with the hopes that there will be real progress made?
All right. Well, these are important questions. Look, what I can tell you is this. The phone call night before last between Secretary Mnuchin and Ambassador Lighthizer and Vice Premier Liu He went very well. That's important. They have decided now the deputies level will continue in Washington later this month. And from that deputies level meeting will come an agenda and an outline so that the principals will meet in early October. I think this is terribly important. I know we've had additional tariffs. President Trump is a very tough negotiator, as I think we all know. But the phone lines have been opened during this period, and the negotiations are proceeding. I've said many times we still expected them to come over here in late September. The principals will meet in early October. The deputies will meet in a couple of weeks. So I can't predict an outcome. I'm not here to do that. All I'm saying is the talks are continuing. You might say they're now going to heat up when the Chinese team comes here. That's a very positive development.
Okay. Always difficult to figure out what will happen after that. Nobody's expecting you're going to obviously reach some sort of agreement in the near term, Larry.
David, I don't want to predict. I've learned in this game. I've participated in many of these meetings. And, of course, we're all part of the principals trade team that meets with the president every week. I don't want to predict anything. I'm just saying it's a good thing that they're coming here. And tempers are calmer now. We're engaged in very important discussions across the board, whether it's agriculture or IP or tech transfer or cloud or cyber hacking or trade barriers. We'll see what happens. I mean, on this one, this is the first face-to-face meeting now in several months. We would love to go back to where we were in May, where we were getting kind of close to an agreement, maybe 90% of the way. Right. But I don't want to predict. I'm just saying I think it's very positive that we negotiate. And it may well be that something positive comes out of that. Maybe not, but maybe so. President Trump himself continues to say, we will make a deal as long as it's a good deal for the United States workforce and the economy. And the president himself believes China wants to make a deal because they are not doing well. They are not doing well right now. And I think they're going to need some help, and trade might improve their economy. But, we will see. No forecast from me.
Understood.
The Kudlow axiom, better to talk than not to talk.
Without a doubt. Larry, listen, this is a subject you and I can probably discuss as well in future interviews, but I wanted to at least get it out there because it's in the news a lot today. It involves the relationship between your administration and business, which I know you're at the forefront of, talking to CEOs and the like. The administration has been very aggressive in rolling back environmental regulations. I think 84 of them by people's count. But in certain areas, particularly when it comes to the methane rollback in terms of the oil and gas industry, the rollback of mileage standards and air pollution from automobiles, and even the rollback in terms of mercury emissions from power plants, you've actually gotten pushback from the very businesses that you're trying to conceivably help. Many auto manufacturers saying we're happy to go with California standards. A number of the power plant companies saying, you know what, we've already spent the money on mercury. We're okay with it. And even methane, BP, Shell saying we're okay in terms of dealing with the current rules. Why don't you back off when you hear that from business?
No, look, this is a very important point. I'm glad you raised it. The CAFE fuel standards, which rules will be released shortly, probably in the next few weeks. We have done what the car makers originally asked us to do, which is to lower the miles per gallon standards. That leads to safer cars, and cheaper cars. Maybe $2,500 to $3,000 cheaper cars, because, in our judgment, the prior administration's rulemaking here was excessive, was erroneous, and was not built on proper cost-benefit analysis. Now, we will have our discussions with the state of California. We want one standard for the whole country. Most car makers agree with us. By the way, federal statutes override state statutes. We'll
Understood.
See how
what
that
did Mary
works
Barra
out.
say? Did you meet with Mary Barra yesterday? What did she have to say?
We did meet with Mary Barra. Mary Barra expressed to the president her support for our reforms on CAFE fuel standards. Okay. Mary Barra is doing her best to open up plants. I think it's possible the president will go with her to a meeting and a discussion in Ohio. She did not sign that letter, General Motors. A lot of big car companies, General Motors for one, Daimler-Benz for another, did not sign that letter. Only a few did. Right. Look, the industry asked us to lower the regulatory barriers to safe and cheaper cars. Let me make one more point. You mentioned methane and so forth. Look, the United States has the cleanest air and the cleanest water of all the major industrial countries. You want to look at problems for clean air and water? have a look at our friends in China. That's the issue there.
Yeah, nobody wants to go there.
We have reopened our energy industry. There's an executive order that the NEC and others participated in so that we will make permitting faster. We will open the doors to pipelines, to various installations for LNG and so forth. So look where we are. And this goes right to the economy. Look where we are here.
Okay.
We have
Larry, we're getting the hard rap from your people, I'm afraid.
Plentiful and cheap energy to power America forward. I think that's
Very
a big
true.
plus.
We're a natural resources powerhouse. But, Larry, we're going to have to wrap there. It's always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on Squawk on this.
My pleasure.